Welcome to the Brave Podcast. I'm your host, Connie Jacob, and I, in the podcast, am taking you through a whole year of how to create connection around you. I don't need to tell you that we are in an epidemic of disconnection, loneliness. People are not connected, and it is resulting in all kinds of different things: avoidance, procrastination, not engaging in life, not being innovative, not being creative. People are hiding, they're not joining together. And based on 25 years of working with this concept of belonging creates resilience, I have come up with a bravely connected method. Now, this bravely connected method, it translates to homes, to schools, community development, workplaces. It's about how do we bravely connect with each other again. And a lot of this was based on my own work experience in schools, working with students, but also the things that I've learned as a mom and being with people. Now, what's really interesting is at this point in our world, we don't know how to connect. I'm about to work with a school with my whole year of connection. Very excited about this opportunity. And they were sharing with me some of their stats. Here's what they said their students are struggling with. The lowest scores in the stats were feeling a sense of belonging and knowing how to make friends. This is not just kids. This is adults. We don't know how to talk to each other anymore. We don't know how to connect. And oftentimes we'll resort back to our phones, or we'll distract ourselves. We'll just stay at home. We won't go outside because peopling is hard. How many of you agree with me on that one? Peopling is hard. And so what I want to do in this episode is I want to help you create the sense of welcome. Welcome is a huge part of creating connection and belonging. Now, we often go, I need to get my kids to school. I need to get them to talk to me. I need to get my students to come to class. I need to get people to engage. We're so behavior-based that we have forgotten how to be human. Welcoming allows us to come back to this human element of, I have no agenda for what I'm expecting out of you other than for you to feel welcome. Now, for some of you, you might have just shivered when you heard that because you have KPIs to reach. You have check marks to check off on what you're supposed to do for your job. And even as a parent, we feel like, no, you don't understand. Like, I need to make sure that my kid does. Here's the thing. This is not helping us. And we have a more disconnected culture right now because we are behavior-based. We need to come back to the idea of creating hospitality in our world. Now, I love being generous and I love inviting people over to my home. I love being welcoming. And it's interesting. I've been studying lately in my belonging work. I've been studying how hospitality does this already. And I want to give you a couple of tools that can help you as a parent, as a teacher, as a leader, as someone who is dreaming for your life, how to implement these strategies in hospitality to increase that sense of belonging. And then we see the behaviors change. This is the key. This is why I call it being bravely connected, because this isn't just a strategy to have a new kid by Friday or a new employee or get people to do what you want them to do. This is us returning to one another. And so I can't wait to dive into today. There's a quote by Henry Nouwen that says, "Not being welcome is our worst fear." I was just on a call yesterday with a friend who confessed to me that sometimes she finds it really hard to go out and put herself in an event or go into a room because she just feels so awkward. And when she shared that with me, I had this moment of just this deep breath of, oh, me too. We feel awkward going into a room. And so this fear of not being welcome, it kind of takes you back to the grade 8 cafeteria where you're looking around wondering where you're going to sit, or getting onto the bus and Who's going to allow you to sit with them? We all have those grade 8 moments, no matter how old we are in life. And this is knowing this is the worst fear that your kids have when they come into your home. When they come home from school, when they go in their room. I saw the greatest Instagram reel the other day. It was, why do kids lock themselves in their room? Well, number one, when they come out of their room, they're constantly bombarded with questions. Did you do your homework? Have you done your laundry? What about this? What about that? It's like, I'm going back to my room. And I thought about that. I thought about how feeling welcome to the kitchen. I'm not going to bombard you. I'm not going to micromanage you right now. I'm going to allow you to settle in and feel a part of our family. I'm not just going to, every time I see you, be the micromanager, be the person who's constantly looking over your shoulder. Think about the people who come into your school today. How many of those students that are avoidant? What's underneath that behavior of avoidance? Not feeling welcome. And not just feeling welcome from people, but not feeling welcome like, I don't know if I have what it takes here. I struggle, and therefore everyone knows that I struggle. Nobody knows that they struggle, but they think everybody knows that they struggle. And so they're actually battling a sense of feeling welcome. They're not battling whether they're competent, but that welcome, they have their limitations on what makes them feel they're going to be welcome or not. When it comes to you living out your dreams, I'm scared to put myself out there. I'm scared to put myself on social media because what if people judge me and reject me, right? That is a fear of not being welcome. When it comes to workplaces, feeling a little misplaced, feeling misaligned, feeling like you're not a part of the team, feeling like you're being left out of conversations, that's a fear of not being welcome. And so today I want to give you some tips on how you can create a place where people feel welcome. You can write, everybody belongs in this home, in this class, at this place. You can write that on the wall. You can have the most beautiful plaque, but if the person next to you doesn't believe it, it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't count. It's not real. It's only real when it's felt. And this is why we have to come back to moving beyond getting to our KPIs and our behaviors and coming back to that welcome, because this is where it's felt. And then the byproducts are trust, engagement, being a part of the team, showing up, doing our best, academically excelling. These are the byproducts of feeling like you belong. Belonging creates that resilient grit inside of us all. Now, when it comes to creating welcome, there are so many ways that we can do this. I'm going to start with one piece that aligns with my husband's and my business together. I have my own business, which is coaching in schools, doing work in mental health and resilience. But my husband and I, we own a renovation company. And the mood, I love my husband, he said this once, colors make moods. Behind me, you see that we have this bluish wall. This wall used to be brown. Our furniture was brown. This was back in 2006 when those earthy tones were really in style. And we decided when we were going through a lot of problems in our house with just conflict and mental health crisis, all of those things, we decided to change the colors in our home. That made a huge difference. I'm not going to say it made all the difference, but colors make moods. What does our environment look like? Does it look inviting? Now, before you think, oh my goodness, is this all about me renovating my home? No, this is not about you renovating your home or your classroom, but this is about putting intentionality around the environment and what it looks like. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. That's my big thing. We don't spend a lot of money on aesthetics. But how can you create something that makes the place that you live in, you work in, you teach in, what makes it feel cozy? What makes it feel inviting? And if you want some special tips on that, you just email me and I will send you that. But number one, physical environment matters. Number two, when it comes to allowing people to feel welcome, stories is where it's at. Stories. Last night, I brought a group of women who are all facing some real adversity in their life. They make me grateful. You know, when you're around people who have hit rock bottom and I'm complaining about my little problems, and they're like, we have nothing. We have nothing. These women have come out of shelters. They are now living in homes, but they're starting from scratch. And we brought them together in a room where I brought one of my past clients to teach them about money management. My past client is a genius at money management. And she didn't start by going, okay, well, here's all the steps that you follow. She started with her personal story. Now, she probably left a ton out because we need to know what to share and what not to share. But whatever is appropriate, if you are the leader, the parent, the teacher, tell stories. Stories get people connected. It connects the room in ways that nothing else does. And again, you have to decide for yourself what's appropriate for you. But I know with my boys, I've always tried to share, hey, I remember being in junior high. I remember struggling with that. I've been honest with them so that they know they're not alone. That creates connection. And what it does, and if you're feeling brave, again, being bravely connected, if you can get students, team members, your kids, the people around you, sharing their stories with one another in a safe environment, I'm telling you, that is going to create the welcome. It was amazing how, as we went around the room, there were all kinds of women in the room. There were women starting from scratch, and there were women like me who probably just need to spend less. But as we all shared our stories from wherever we were, we felt connected. We felt like a collective resilience together. This is powerful. Now, it's important. I'm going to give you my secret strategy when it comes to helping people share their stories. I always give people two options. Number one, if you're going to share, you are in the driver's seat of your experience. Okay, so you don't have to share anything that you don't want to. Number two, you don't have to share. You can say pass. But what's so interesting, and I often do this in a circle, when you do this in, say, a classroom or a typical room that's just theater style, it doesn't do the same thing. Think about the hospitality industry for a moment, or even any retail. What do they start with at the beginning of every day? A team huddle. They start with a huddle, and that huddle is in a circle. Circles are powerful. I won't go into it in this podcast, but in my line of work, circles has been how I've created connection. I teach a free dance class every Wednesday night in my community. And at the end of the class, we always are in a circle. And I always say, I would love for you to share, how did today feel? Or I might have another question of the day. What have you overcome? What's been a highlight for you? And what I do is I start with the person on my right or my left. I usually evaluate, is that person new? Okay, let's not start with the new person. Let's not put them on the spot. Let's start with the person who's been around for a while. Or let's start with the one who I think would be most open to sharing. Because that first person is key. Because if that first person shares something, the next person will too, or they're more likely to. Then the third, right? But if they pass, it's highly likely that there will be more passes throughout the circle. Now, and that's okay. That's totally okay, as long as you start. As long as you start with a story. And so these little team huddles are another great way for you to create this bravery. Now, in a home, that could be just having times where you connect. It needs to be organic in a home. I find with my boys, when I've tried in the past to sit them down for a family meeting, doesn't work. There's no interest. But even last night, my boys we're all in the living room and they're sharing, and those are my favorite moments. You know how last week on the podcast we talk about defining moments, memorable moments? Memorable moments for me is when my boys are just talking and my husband and I, we're just listening, and we're all in the living room and it's organic. Nobody created it. It just happens. Those moments, though, are created with parents by being present, not just like always gone or watching TV, but being present. In a classroom, it could literally look like starting the day with a team huddle. And if you don't have a lot of time, here's a strategy for you. And this is for workplaces too. You could literally go around the circle and say, what's one word that would express how you feel today? Or what's one word that would express something that you're proud of, right? That keeps it brief, but it also allows them to connect. Really well-crafted questions that lead people to where you want them to go is also crucial. So asking people, what is something that you overcame last week? Now, not only is that for them, what it's doing for them is it's reminding them, wow, I actually am doing better than I thought. Because our brains are wired towards the negative. I'll always think about all the things I didn't do rather than, oh, yeah, actually last week, I actually kicked butt in some of these things. And I need to be reminded of that. Individuals need to be reminded of how they're killing it and not just failing. Not only that, it does something to the group. It reminds people of what their strengths are and it connects them together. But for you as a teacher, as a leader, I'm telling you what this does for you. This allows you to start to see their strengths and you start to get to really know them. So those team huddles, this is something that's crucial to start at any point in the year. I always love starting it in September because it sets a standard. Set up a rhythm. Figure out when is the best time to have a team huddle. Is it at the beginning of the day? Is it at the end of the day? I highly recommend beginning of the day because it's everybody's fresh. And in creating environments, are you ready for this? I'm going to give you such a tool right now. In creating environments, you are the designer of peaks, pits, and transitions. I'm going to say that again because I literally just gave you gold, okay? You are the designer of the experience of the people around you by creating peaks, pits, and transitions. Now, let me focus on transitions for a second here. When a child comes to school, that's a transition from home into that classroom. Some of them, that is the worst transition of their day. So that team huddle is strategically placed in a spot where they can go, oh, I didn't realize that some others in my class are struggling too. I can get through my day, right? So think about that. When I talk about designing peaks, that huddle, I tell you, this dance class that I've been running has been teaching me a lot because everything that I've done with students, I'm doing now with these adults. And it's beautiful. It becomes a peak. Somebody told me that after the dance class, they are on a high for a few days after. Because of the experience, we create and we design space for people to come together and connect on a deeper level. And that sends them on a dopamine high that gets them through a few days even. That blew my mind. Pits. You're like, do I design the pits? Well, I want to tell you that you can not only prevent pits, but sometimes pits are the best gift for you, your students, the people you're leading, because pits create grit. Pits create resilience. Pits create connection. And so sometimes pits, we don't even see them coming. It's like, whoa, that didn't expect that day to go that way. But those pits can be repositioned to allow people to band together rather than disperse if you design it that way. Now, that might be another podcast, but I just want to let you know that if you're the leader, and how do you know you're a leader? Well, if you're responsible for people, including children, you're a leader. Moms, you're a leader. And we design these things. And when the curveballs are thrown at us, we figure it out. And we turn those pits into progress by connecting the room. So number one way that you can make sure that you're creating that sense of welcome and hospitality. Number one, is just figuring out how can I do the best I can with my physical environment. Number two, team huddles, crucial. And the last one, be generous. Give people today the very best experience that you can. When you are generous with hospitality, welcome, giving people an amazing experience, it's going to fill your cup. Now, if people aren't grateful, that can get a little old. So you have to have boundaries around it. And you don't have to do this every day. But what's one memorable experience that you can give people around you this week? I want to just talk to the woman with a dream, a woman who's creating a business for a moment. This is key. My business strategy for women is how can I make someone feel so alive today? That's my business strategy. So if you see me posting on social media, it's to serve. When you see me creating programs, say like the Dream Academy, it's to bring women in and give them the best, most amazing experience that I possibly can, including a trip to Mexico. We are taking a group of women to Mexico in April for a massive mastermind breakthrough week. If you want in, you email me. I'm going to put my contact info in the show notes. Don't miss that. But again, it's that hospitality. It's being generous with what I have and saying, come here. I want to give you an amazing experience. Imagine a teacher with me for a moment that every day doesn't think about, oh, that sounds like pressure, but just thinks, how can I really see these students today? What can I say to that one kid that's sitting in the corner as they leave class today? What's one encouraging word where I can be generous with my time to attune to them and see them and give them some encouragement? What's one thing I can do as a manager or a boss to really be able to create that sense of, wow, what we are creating here together is huge. And you matter here. We see you and you are valued. How can we be generous that way? That, my friends, creates welcome. Physical, huddles, generosity. Those three things create such a sense of welcome wherever we are. How can I create something special for my kids? And I'm not talking about money. Please don't think this is about spending money. So many of the most memorable things that have made me feel included and welcomed have not had people spending money on me, but it's been when people really saw me and pulled out my gold and encouraged me. That goes a long way, friends. And so on our journey of creating connection for the year, September was all about creating that safety and connection. We're going to continue on next week, and I can't wait. But in the meantime, friends, stay bravely connected to one another.